Since the introduction of Morgesh, Narbash has actually really come into the limelight. In the early game, his health regen really helps against that dot damage, while his stun can really secure the kill. So a nice stun into his ultimate really actually does very well against Morgesh. Amongst other things, Narbash has been really quite a great hero in today's meta, and we're going to find out exactly why. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a hero building guide. I am Sylphin. I'm cold. I'm sorry. So we always take a look at these heroes' numbers first in order to inform us about how to build and how to play the hero. So starting off with this basic attack, it's actually fairly surprising. It starts out at 70 and goes 2 per level up to 98. It scales like a caster, but it ends up dealing quite a good amount of damage. It's slow as all hell at 1.5 seconds, and he doesn't get any attack speed to go along with it. So, you know, it's really odd. He ends up hitting really quite hard in the early game. He ends up hitting quite hard too. So just kind of, you can definitely use that to your advantage in the early game. Now his right mouse button is his stun. It's a 0.9 to 1.5 second stun with a mana cost of 135 and 90 in the early game. You can use that to quite effect, and really the only issue is that cooldown that you have to take into account. It deals quite a bit of damage, 220 in the end game, and with a 1.0 power scaling, all power Narbash actually deals a pretty damn large amount of damage with his right click into his ultimate. So that's not really a thing in any meta, but just so you know, a lot of power on Narbash. His thunk in his ultimate hurts a lot. The next ability is his Q, increases yours and nearby allies' movement speeds. It has 75 mana cost, so you can actually really use this really quite well. And the cooldown goes to a nice, juicy 12 seconds. His E is a Song of the People. This one you have to be careful. The mana cost is per second. Per second, it's 11 mana per second to grant your nearby allies 10 health regeneration. And once it's level 4, 44 mana regen, mana cost per second to grant 40 health regen. Definitely falls off in effectiveness in the late game, but in the early game, great against Morgesh, great against a lot of other things as well. Now his ultimate deals 280 damage in the early game. That's fairly significant, and 500 in the late game, with a mana cost of 150 with a 500 unit slow. It's very powerful, but very susceptible to crowd control. With 1.2 power scaling, you could see if you get, I don't know, 180 power on Narbash, that's almost 700 damage along with a nice damage thunk. Nobody does that, but just so you know, it's actually kind of quite surprising. With the 70-second cooldown, you can use that to great effect in the late game to help secure some kills, but again, very susceptible to crowd control. Now, his base stats, kind of sad, to be honest with you. For such a big guy, for being a huge ogre, he's a giant squishy mess. He's a giant squishy mess. He has a basic armor and ability armor of a caster, the health of a caster, the mana and mana regen of a caster, with a health regen of a caster as well. So he's squishy, which is very unfortunate because being a melee support, you really need that tankiness to absorb hits, to body block, etc. He's one squishy mess in the early and mid game, so you really have to choose when to go in, apply that body block, apply the ultimate, and when not to. He has to be played very carefully. You gotta know when to go in and out from his kit. So you can see that his kit, he's a squishy mess with some power potential, but some crazy utility to go along with that. As we just ended on the fact that he is very squishy, he is actually the base stats of a caster support. So when you are wanting equal damage reduction from both basic and ability damage, which is what you want, you have to be very conscientious of how you're spending your defensive points. If you are spending 20 CP into defensive stats, health, armor, you want all of it to go into health. Believe it or not, because that's how the math works out. You want all of it into health. If you're spending 30 points, you need 26 into health, 2 into basic armor, and 2 into ability armor. Now, what you have to take into account, though, is the fact that you need to account for penetration on top of this. So if, you know, people really only build about 20 basic pen, so that's about 3 CP's worth of basic armor. So in fact, you're building 5 basic armor, not 2, meaning you're spending 32 points instead. For ability armor, you have to build quite a bit of it because it's very reliable for people to put ability pen. So that's anywhere from 5 to 8 CP's worth of ability armor in order to mitigate penetration, meaning you actually end up going 7 to 10 points into ability armor at this level, meaning overall you're probably spending around 36 points when you're on here. So just keep that in mind. You have to add on armor that counteracts penetration on top of this number here. Make sure to go to check out this post here on the Epic Games forums. Tankiness and monoliths maximize your effective health by Board Pyro. He has done a fantastic job here doing that. Now, before we go on to the build here, we shout out Board Pyro. Have to shout out Narender from for that first post with all of the numbers behind Narbash. Fantastic community member that does a lot of work with that spreadsheet and other things. Fantastic community member. Shout out to him. So this is the Drums of War to help out his allies to dominate on the battlefield. Start with the Centurion because in that mid game when you're getting that Orb Prime, you just want to be that tank for your team, and also in the late game you just want that tank. So Centurion for that health is an absolute must. Then we go into the early game. In the early game, you're going to start off with, you can go into some mana potions and a health token. It's up to you, but you can actually honestly start off with the Circlet of Health. You're going to be able to keep your ally alive tremendously, just with this Circlet of Health and your Song of your People. You can also get your Thunk, so that you don't even need to get your AoE heal. So you're not only healing your carry, but you're also doing other things. So I've actually tweaked it here just a bit. You have two options. You can either, like I just said, go for the Circlet of Health, and you don't need to worry about the health, but you have some options as well. You can get the Circlet of Mana, which as Narbash you can use that mana to convert into health, or 2 mana potions and a Scout's Ward. 2 mana potions and a Scout's Ward, you convert that mana into health, and you get that vision here for the Scout's Ward. That is what I would personally do. Mana potions, 2 mana potions into a Scout's Ward, so you can put that Scout's Ward down about the 3-minute mark when the when the jungler and stuff is going to be, and the mid laner is going to be rotating. After this circlet of after this Scout's Ward, you have to come back here for your ward. Now we have the Guardian's Ward here with some health and damage again in the early game. This damage is surprising, so you go into this Guardian's Ward and you can upgrade it if you want. I would not upgrade it, just so that I can upgrade my Scout's Ward into this Guardian's Ward and then go into a Circlet of Health and then Circlet of Mana. Now, as soon as possible, change out the Circlet of Mana into the Quenching Scales. You need 4 CP on top of the Circlet of Health to change it into this Quenching Scales. So as soon as possible, get rid of this Circlet of Mana for this Quenching Scales. After this, it's really up to you. You can upgrade your Guardian's Ward to get that health and cast, but it's up to you because you've got a whole bunch of other cards here that you can go for. You can go for the Honor the Pure if you need it, which is probably what you're gonna go for next. Get Honor the Pure, and then you have some options with Nature's Muse, Divine Shield, and Thermobond. If you don't need a Nature's Muse, Divine Shield, or Thermal Bond after getting Honor the Pure, go into this Elysian Diamond. A wee bit of damage there, some lesser health, and some basic Spark. I'm going to switch one of those out for some minor cast just to keep it really nice and broad with a little bit of a focus on that health. So if you don't need the Nature's Muse, the Divine Shield, or the Thermal Bond, get the Elysian Diamond. Now what this does though is it makes it an easy switch out from the Elysian Diamond into any one of these, the Nature's Muse, Divine Shield, or the Thermal Bond. Now what I would recommend is probably going for Thermal Bond or Divine Shield first, getting these first and then getting Nature's Muse last. Don't upgrade any of these until you get to Nature's Muse. Upgrade the snot out of Nature's Muse, and then you have actually the whole build. Thermal Bond, Divine Shield, Nature's Muse, Honor the Pure, Quenching Scales, and then eventually you will transition out of this Guardian's Ward into this Lord's Ward. So these bottom 6 cards are what you need in the late game. You get all the health possible. Upgrade all of the health possible before going into this Divine Shield here for this minor barrier. You don't want it until you have all of the health on the rest of the build. So kind of confusing. Again, start off with your 2 mana potions and a Scout's Ward. Go back, get your Guardian's Ward instead of your Scout's Ward. Get your Circlet of Health, Circlet of Mana. Get the Quenching Scales instead of this, or replace your Circlet of Mana for this Quenching Scales as fast as you can. Get this Honor the Pure. Then go into Divine Shield or Thermal Bond. Next, if you don't need those, go into Elysian Diamond. Get both of these. Finish it off with Nature's Muse. Upgrade this. Upgrade all of go into your Lord's Ward if you don't want that damage anymore. Upgrade all of the health on all of the cards before going into these minor barriers here. That is what you want here. Lord's Ward, Quenching Scales, Honor the Pure, Nature's Muse, Divine Shield, and Thermal Bond. So here in this early game, you can see that I went for my Lord's Ward at this point, just because I was an idiot and forgot all about my Guardian's Ward. Now, why does that work? You can convert your mana into health as long as your friendly team, as long as your friendly carry here doesn't take too much damage, and then you just kind of end up totally destroying it. So you can see I placed 2 wards already, one closer by our jungle and one just past this fog wall. Preferably, you want to go a little bit farther up here. Especially, you know, when you put it right about here. That works really well as a spot for early detection, especially by the enemy mid laner or the jungler. Now, I chose to gut my E this time because I got my Lord's Ward. I was doing really weird things. We rotated here to secure the kill on the Gideon with our Thunk, which is the second ability that we got. I would recommend, again, 2 mana potions into your Scout's Ward, so you can put the Scout's Ward down there, because the Scout's Ward does work. With your first 2 CP that you guys get, go back, get your Guardian's Ward instead of that Scout's Ward. Replace it. That'll work fine. Go down and place down those wards to make sure that you have that vision advantage, and really keep your team safe. The last ability that I would definitely recommend to get is your March, which increases the movement speed of your allies. So you can see here, I'm like, get out of here, Sparrow, get out of here. I go back, body block the Grux a little bit. I stun him after he's used his pull, so he can't really do any more damage afterwards, and I just kind of join back and use my E. I do get the Circlet of Health here really quick, just because, again, you can convert that mana into health. So with the Lord's Ward and the Circlet of Mana, I should be fine in the health department. You can see that Narbash he's really interesting in that he he has varying options in terms of the early game shenanigans. So here I bait the Grux there very nicely. I actually missed my thunk, and he would have done even less damage. And I'm being really ballsy here. I'm being super ballsy because I want just a little bit more CP before I go back. Just be careful. I'm being really ballsy here. But hey, I get away with it. So with Narbash, you have the potential to be a obscene nuisance, an obscene nuisance. You know, using your thunk to great effect to secure kills. I do it there, but unfortunately we aren't able to secure a kill. To great effect. You can absolutely be pressuring them. They know that thunk is there, so kind of put the pressure on them, just not a little bit too much. Again, starting off with your Song of My People, especially if you're going for the Mana Potion Scouts Ward, into your thunk, into your Q, or your March. So here you can see here that I'm really putting the pressure on the Morgesh, just because I can regenerate that health from any damage that she does to me. So again, lots of potential here with Narbash to be a really big nuisance to whoever you're offlaning against. There again, you can see I'm trying to go in, be that nuisance, even though she's not really attacking me too much. Now, as soon as you have your ultimate, you can do things like this. A nice stun into your ultimate to secure the kill. Kaboomy. She goes over me, and I'm kind of like, whoa, where is she? And we go, and we get the kill. Unfortunately, I got the last hit, and instead of my carry, but there you go. Thunk into a ultimate is a fantastic way to secure kills, as long as you know they don't have an escape tool. If they have an escape tool, really, I mean, they can just get away, right? So you just got to be really careful with when you use it. And then we get the Grux too. Fantastic. We're really dominating. And here comes this Gideon here, and I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna be the ultimate bait here. I don't have mana, unfortunately, for my right click, and the Gideon goes down again. It's just hilarious. This is a fantastic showcase of the utility of Narbash. I use my March to give me a speed boost so I get here in time. Unfortunately, the Grux cancels my ultimate, which would have killed him even more. Quenching Scales because he got rid of my Circlet of Mana for it, and kaboom. Done just like that. Now, you can keep your Circlet of Mana, well, actually, no, you can't. Sorry, never mind. You can't because of the unique passive of the Quenching Scales. The Quenching Scales and the Circlet of Mana will not, will not stack. So, and then here this Gideon and we actually get him as, apparently, I guess he had no mana there. I don't know, he didn't use his teleport, because the thunk is real, baby. That stun is real. In terms of upgrading your abilities, I go for my right click, upgrading your thunk a lot, and then upgrading your march. Try to upgrade your thunk as much as possible. It reduces the cooldown, and maybe it does, but it definitely increases the stun duration, and that is the really important part. Increasing your stun duration, that is the super important part. Your E, you actually don't necessarily want to increase your Song of My People, because it increases the mana cost so damn much. It really increases the mana cost a lot. So I don't upgrade the Song of My People all that much. So this is a showcase of Narbash's squishiness. I'm caught rotating. I'm trying to do something onto this Gideon. I used my thunk on him to cancel his ultimate, but unfortunately I don't use my Quenching Scales for some reason, which would have maybe kept me alive here as the rest of my team comes in and kind of cleans up. We get a fairly even trade, I think, but unfortunately not much more. So I'm not sure what this Morgesh was doing, as she probably could have definitely secured the kill there. So he is squishy. You have to be with your team. I was trying to be a little bit sneaky there to come in on the Gideon in the mid lane, but everybody collapsed on me, and there you go, that happened. So he is squishy. You got to be careful. At this point of the game, I have Honor the Pure and Quenching Scales. I use my Thunk on this Grux so that it doesn't apply any more damage to my Moragesh, and we are just here. So I'm like, oh, the Spear is going to ham. I'm going to use my Honor the Pure to mitigate the damage, and then some Quenching Scales to help heal this Moragesh. Now this Chimera goes a little ham. I maybe could have come in here, thunked, and used my ultimate. Right, I should have maybe gone in with him. Started using my Stunning My People and my Crash Bang Boom, our ultimate. Maybe a thunk in there to prevent him from taking any more damage from whoever he killed there, the Sparrow maybe. But we actually secure the kill on this Moragesh by using our thunk and ult combo. So powerful to keep a target nailed down. Because Moragesh, without a blink, she has no escape. So fantastic utilization there of my thunk into the ultimate. And here, I don't know what I was doing. I was trying to be a little too aggressive with the Decker. Long Bomb kills me with her stun. And here is the final push for the win, guys. So Narbash, he's awesome. He's a fantastic counter pick against Moragesh. He's a great counter pick against Gideon. He has probably the fastest instant stun available to anybody. It's a right click and a left click. Like, it's boom, instantly. Instant stun on really whoever he wants as long as you aim it properly. So he's a fantastic counter pick against Gideon. Against and here actually you can see me. I used my thunk already to try to save the Chimera against whoever was damaging him, and I had already used my Quenching Scales and my Honor the Pure. So unfortunately I do go down, but my death wasn't in vain. It was to secure a couple kills and save a couple allies, and that's exactly what you want to do. Fantastic hero in today's meta, especially if you see a Moragesh, as most often than not she's in the off lane, especially if you don't see any really strong off lane heroes. The Moragesh is going in the off lane, and he's a fantastic pick, guys. He's a fantastic pick, and I really appreciate him, and hopefully you guys do too. Please like the video if you like it, dislike it. Please leave a comment down below what you guys think about Narbash, about this build. How do you like that very utility-focused, the utility-focused tankiness from this build? So that Divine Shield, obviously, you can really actually, you can really absorb a lot. Like, you can stand in the way of a stun, you can stand in the way of a lot of things, and just kind of absorb that. The Thermal Bond, obviously, if you get stunned, which is a lot of it, it's just going to regenerate that health, and that's just going to be so good. The Nature's Muse to reduce the cooldowns of your allies, fantastic. It can really reduce the cooldown of your thunk. Oh, for 2 very quick stuns, very fantastic, very fantastic. And of course, guys, please subscribe if you guys found this enjoyable or you simply found this useful, as I would love to be able to do it in the future. So, like always, ladies and gentlemen, till next time, stay optimistic and positive.